Mwiko mwikuye mwiko mwikuye mwingi wa Kamĩrĩĩthũ mũtiũke tunyitane.
My name is Peter Ndungu. I was born on the 21st of March in 1960 within the tea plantations. By then they were known as Maburuki Tea Factory. They were owned by the colonialists. I can't give a credit to my parents because I did not find my parents. They died when I was very, very young within the tea plantations. So immediately after the death of my parents, I was taken up by my grandmother. We had to leave the plantations. My grandmother were freedom fighters. And so our great-grandfather, his lad, was taken over by the colonialists because it was believed one of those people who were giving oath to the freedom fighters. You understand one thing, that Kamĩrĩĩthũ village itself was for those people whom the colonialists had taken over their land. And that's how it became to be a settlement for those people. So we came to Kamĩrĩĩthũ in 1965. My grandmother came and requested from the chief of Limuru whether she should be given a place. We usually call them shauri yako. For the religious people, that's just or beside the Lord. So basically that's how we came to Kamĩrĩĩthũ in 1967 and to start schooling. But not because my grandmother could not afford to take me to nearby schools. She had to go back to the tea plantations and ask them whether they could accept to take me as a student in one. There was a school known as by Maburuki primary school. Today is known as Tigoni Secondary School. So with the work of the headmaster, I was able to be granted that admission. So I was trekking for more than 20 kilometers as a child from here to go to Maburuki for my education. My grandmother, now my mother's mom, she had lost her husband, that's my grandfather, sometimes in 1934 at Maji Mazuri. So when she came back to her parents, they could not accept her. She was not going to be inherited. My grandmother had no option but to look for work, and that is how she went to the tea plantations with her young children who were four, one of them being my mother. So that's how the story of being in the tea plantation started. It was that as you have been married, you need to go to the family that married you. My grandmother's father had a big land, but his brothers could not take him back because she had been married. Go back, the people married you. That was the practice by then, and it was almost accepted by the whole of the Kikuyu community. It was really a terrible life, full of misery and poverty. I would challenge my grandmother because she was telling me she was a freedom fighter. What was all the purpose of you being telling me you were a freedom fighter? Why are we suffering like this? Why have we living in total abject poverty, you say? My grandmother was of those people who used it to sing folk dances for the readers then. So when there were public holidays, like the Madaraka Day, after singing, she would be given a half blend and a soda. I even reached a point telling her, Shushu, don't think for this. I don't see the reason at all. You see, and to trek from here to Maburuki. So always been I was to close the railway line. I was passing the motor. I was also buying the newspaper for my teachers because I was the one who was coming from Moro. So I knew about the Moro. I knew about the surrounding factories like Bata. I can remember once, it will never get out of my memory. I was going to school and it was raining. After closing the railway line, there is a canal existing even today that was collecting the waste from Bata factory especially from the tannery, which was very smelly. Even today, the smell has not really gone well. And I can remember once I fell there when going to school. So when I go to school, I was smelling. So nobody wanted to come near me because I was smelling so bad. And one of the reasons I came to hit Bata factory thinking, why? By then, people just wake up, they lash when they used to call it Kingora. I don't know what type it was by then because we could hear it when we were here. We knew it was hooting at exactly 5 minutes to 7 o'clock. And the second one would hoot at 7:25. And we could hear it like, it was just like the one of locomotives by then. It was loud. You could hear it, even when the school in Maburuki, we could hear the sound. There was a building, we used to call it the social hall. It was an old building made of timber and just an old building. Would also go there and pray because even the Baptists have been given that social hall to use it as a church. And even that's why I started going to church. Even I was baptized by the Baptists in the social hall, yes. That's what came to be the theater. We were hearing about one of our around people in the area was Thiong'o. The social hall housed the Baptist church. So I can remember one, we are acting on a play. That's just a church play as young people. We noticed there was a person who was sitting and watching what we are doing. He didn't talk much. Just saw he was so considered, his head like this. I can always remember. And when I came to run, it was Ngũgĩ. He had not even started the theater by then. But I can remember exactly the first day that he came there when we were acting on such a play. I don't know whether it's one that brought him to come and think of starting a play still there or what it was. But I remember when he came, that's exactly what we were doing. Now when they started the theater and worked on it, that's when it came about runabout like Ngũgĩ and other people used to visit here. But just when I went there and listened to what was happening and watched the play, I started being to NYS and I knew 1 or 2 or 3 things about the government. I knew the government won't allow this play to go on. Because whatever was being portrayed was to try to educate the Kenyans. People want to know that you should wake up and go to Bata factory and work. But nobody's trying to find out, what am I getting out of this factory? What are the benefits? Take for my kids now. My parents died while working for the block board. But I didn't get education. When I joined the National Youth Service, that was in 1975, what we were being taught is that you have to be loyal to your government. That was the primary duty. As much as Ngũgĩ the theater would have tried to open their mind and eyes, it was not going to be an easy thing. If a police car was sighted in Kamĩrĩĩthũ, it was for all the bad reasons. And so it created a certain fear. Because once Ngũgĩ started the theater, ideally a lot of police cars, even unmarked police cars, would visit the theater. Before the theater was brought down, there was a very strong campaign that they talked negatively of the theater. They were being called as barasas for security by the DC. People are being told, what do you want? Is it development or madako? So to them, they were just games, just playing. That's how it would be portrayed. So people would answer, if you to tikweda madako, to kweda maendeleo. So the day that the theater was brought down by the DC, he came here with a lot of policemen and what, with the crowbars and what. But when they came, they tried to cite the people to bring down the theater, the people themselves. So the DC would say, what are you interested in? Ni mathakoi kana ni maendeleo. People refused. He told them now, Thariai, those are the ones, Thariai Mokuego. You bring them down and carry the structures home as firewood and what? In fact, this is what will make people to. And not all, let me tell you, there was still a number of people that found whatever is being done, it is not such way right. The DC said it's the president himself who will come over there to help start up the it had not been said as a polytechnic. It was said to kwambĩrĩria shukuru haha. It took not more than a week. And we were told that the president was going to officially come there. And true, it is him who came. So when he came, he told people, nimekuja tu Kamĩrĩĩthũ, tunataka kuwasaidia kuanzisha shule hapa kwenyu. In fact, it was the president who would come and inspect it until it was complete. And even he came headed at it over. People never accepted the school as the own. I was nominated to serve in the board. And I remember raising that question, telling them, I want to know how many students do we have from Kamĩrĩĩthũ. By then we had about 115 trainees by then. Believe me, we had only 8 from Kamĩrĩĩthũ. So the people of Kamĩrĩĩthũ have never really accepted that school as one of the What I like about it, and that the credit should go directly to Ngũgĩ, is that part on the edges of the Lord, they had people who had built it there like we. It is the president who ordered them that the people surrounding the school should be given land so that there can be enough land for expansion of building up. They were given 5 acres of land and a plot in the year. Theaters has never been appreciated in this country, especially in the village levels. So anything that can change these people's mind seems to be a threat to the government. And I think this is where the theater comes in, because theater is more practical than theoretical. People are being told, we shall give you this, we shall give you this. This only, I think, the town council that have got no social hall where people can meet. If you try to look at it like now, you can see a lot of Basani who are coming up. Even if you try to look in Limuru, you can see we don't have got these people. Because theater from the word go was portrayed as an evil. It was portrayed as an evil thing.
Mwingi wa Kamĩrĩĩthũ mũtiũke tunyitane moko tuthondeke ituga.